So payment systems in Nigeria, of course, has taken a very interesting turn. We've seen more and more investors and customers and consumers using online payment modes to conduct transactions. I know, for instance, that majority of people can't afford to go to the regular brick and mortar shops to get what they need, and so they do their transactions online. And so doing your transaction online means you need to have a payment system that will really cater to your needs. And so there have been a lot of challenges and opportunities mentioned. For instance, a high case of internet broadband connectivity, which has been a major challenge for some, and in some cases the inability to get the right platform to service their customers. Well, Juliet Nwaguma, who is the country manager of PayU Nigeria, joins me on the program to talk about this, some of these challenges, and of course how it affects doing business here in Nigeria and the broader markets in general. Juliet, good morning, and thank you for joining me on the program.
Thank you for having me, Harriet.
So there are a number of challenges, of course, with regards payment systems in Nigeria, even though we've got a number of them already. But I think it's still a market that still welcomes so much more to come on. Talk to us, looking at the landscape of Nigeria now, talk to us about the challenges, first of all, before we talk about the opportunities of payment systems.
Okay, now in terms of the challenges, as you rightly said, the payment system has really evolved, but the adoption by the consumers is still not quite, is still very low. We're not there yet. You have awareness being a major issue. People are scared to use their card to transact online because they just have this fear of security. Their cards will be stolen or misused. So that's from the awareness point of view. And even the merchants as well. So merchants in the brick and mortar business also need to have that knowledge, that awareness to also come online. I mean, as you rightly said, we have the number of digital consumers online. I mean, Nigeria has gone digital. We have a lot of people on the social media. And of course, by what we have in the country, you have a lot of traffic. So if you, as a merchant, does not think of being online, there's a loss of revenue on that space. The merchant has to really be informed, be aware, and think of moving his or her business online. Then, of course, we talk about the infrastructure. We still have infrastructure challenges in Nigeria because the payment system is interconnected between the banks, the telcos, the regulators, even the payment gateway as well. So it's very important that the infrastructure works well. Because if it works well, it creates the efficiency of the system that even the consumer desires and even the merchant desires as well.
So one of the main challenges I know with opening accounts with online payment system is that for some, they ask you to make deposits, for instance. Maybe if you have to some say you can sign up, make a deposit, and then start making payment online when you've deposited money. And in this day, when you know that access to funds for some is really challenging, but you need to buy this particular product, and so you want to do your payment online because you feel it's more convenient. Don't you think there should be more innovative ways, for instance, in encouraging people to actually, use online payment systems?
You're very correct, and I must give credit to the banks because they've also been informed, and they're really well informed in that space. And as such, the limit of the barrier of account opening is not actually there because really all you need is an account, whether it's a savings account or a current account, where your transaction will actually be settled. So in that regard, there is no limit, there's no barrier, and there's no need for a merchant to actually fund their account to start getting online. It's not a strict requirement the way it was.
So for you, what has been the main challenge of looking at this space, and you seem to be very comfortable with the way things are? Do you think that we are where we are, that's Nigeria, in terms of this payment systems? Do you think Nigeria is where it should be, or we can get better, taking a look at other African countries that have tried to also evolve through the system?
From the Nigerian point of view, we have really tried. We have a progressive regulator who has paved the way and laid down the basics. I mean, you remember the cashless initiative that even still ongoing. So that has actually introduced a lot of people into the system. Okay, so now in terms of the challenges, we are getting there. We are not there, but of course, it's an ongoing thing. Payment system evolves. And we are sophisticated in Nigeria. I mean, we have a lot of payment providers in the country. We're not there, but we're getting there. All we need to do is ensure that we have innovative ways to bring consumers on board in terms of ways to pay. And of course, places to make payments. I mean, for example, we have the e-commerce website now trying to take payments online for merchants. We need more ways. And of course, even in Nigeria, e-commerce is still largely based on cash. I mean, you could see the trend is largely cash on delivery. So we need to grow more acceptance. We need to educate the consumers. We need to really make them feel secured and bring them online to save, to transact.
How do you think that can be done? Because you just pointed out a lot of people, I know I'm one of such people. If I do any transaction online, I'd rather pay cash on delivery. I wouldn't want to do any transaction online because I'm not so sure about how safe that particular portal or gateway is. So I'd rather do cash on delivery. So what is being done? What do you think can be done? In what ways can we secure online portals to ensure that if you do make your transactions online, your details are safe and you don't have any fear of theft?
Okay, so first, that awareness I've also mentioned from the consumer point of view. So now the regulators actually, there's a policy of two-factor authentication. So which means that transactions carried out on the e-commerce side must be authenticated, meaning that you, as the cardholder, will be further secured by a PIN presented to your bank. So for me, that will really secure the transaction. So consumers need to be aware of it. We need to have merchant forums. We need to have that awareness created by the stakeholders in the system. So these e-commerce merchants and their consumers, bring some of them on board and educate them on the need to really safely transact with the card, because the policy is there. E-commerce transactions, the cards are done with a second factor authentication, so further securing your transaction. So it's all about the culture that we have in Nigeria, which has to change. And I know that it will change. So, and the likes of us coming on board will actually also make it happen. So you have Pay, you have other payment providers, and that's where the innovation happens. So where we have to take a critical look at the e-commerce business and see where the loopholes are, where the challenges are, and of course meet with the stakeholders to try to solve the problem.
And the regulator as well.
The regulator as well, absolutely.
So what's your expectation, in line with how things are, and looking at the reduced customer and consumer spending online because of the, for some, most of them do international transaction anyway, using dollar cards and the rest of it. What's your broad look on that segment of the financial services?
On international transaction?
No, just not on the JMET. Yeah, generally for payment systems.
Oh, well, yes, there has been reduced spending, and it's because of the recession that we're in, which I know that will come up. But in terms of the e-commerce is actually affecting everybody, even including the e-commerce players and the merchants as well. So unfortunately, that's the situation we find ourselves in. You can't really control the consumer's behavior. Okay. So, but when we're out of the recession, improve business, this will naturally pick up.
Okay, so yes. Yeah, you have a mixed outlook on the economy. But thank you so much, Juliet, for coming on the program this morning. Our Business Morning continues after now. Stay with us.